Kings and queens of quarantine, welcome to another video of a new series called History of the NBA. Now, how did the NBA become so fun, so entertaining? Now, out of all the ages of basketball, the most influential in terms of entertainment and more draw to the sport and more athletes, more basketball players is the 1970s. The 90s were the most popular era, but the 1970s was the beginning of something special. Now, during these times in the 70s, there were two leagues, the NBA and the newly awaited and newly stalled and newly league called the American Basketball Association, endorsed by Dr. J. Now, what made this league very special was they had several NBA stars under their belt. I mean, they had Dr. J, Rick Barry, Roger Brown, Billy Cunningham, Iceman. They had a lot of people. I mean, the league was kind of weird. You'd recognize a handful of teams there, here and there, but the other teams, you'll just get weirded out. You know, there was a team called the Squirrels. Ain't that weird? A bunch of squirrels. Imagine playing for a squirrel and saying, you know what, I play for the Squirrels? Now, that's kind of weird. What made their league very special, or this league very special, is the special red, white, and blue ball, which is just amazing. The red, white, and blue ball was more unique than the NBA. The NBA just had a normal leather ball. Now, this league was made by George Mikan, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, and also the genius behind the NBA's three-point line. And another commissioner here during the NBA time is Larry O'Brien. Now, during 1976, both of the leagues agreed to have a merger. So the NBA got the rights to the ABA. Now, the only reason why they merged is that the NBA needed more interest. The NBA had stars, but they need quite a bit of change. I mean, they absorbed only 4 teams, but the other teams folded. The Denver Nuggets, the Indiana Pacers, the Brooklyn Nets, and the San Antonio Spurs were able to survive the fold-out drought. Because all the other teams in the ABA became bankrupt. So, unfortunately, those other teams did not make it to the NBA. Now, Dr. J was a big influence. I mean, he's the first guy who ever had a shoe deal. I mean, he had the Pro Leathers from Converse. It was just one of the most popular shoes during that time. Me, honestly, I would love to wear a Pro Leather one time, but I heard it's not very comfortable. And I've seen people play Pro Leathers today, and please, people, do not play in them. Not saying that you wouldn't, but hey, if you get injured or tear your ACL, don't say I warned you. Okay, I had this friend named Toby. He wore some Pro Leathers, and he was driving for a layup, and let me tell you, he had a sprain. It was not fun. Now, what made the NBA so boring during the 70s? This is without the ABA. Now, the NBA, it was just a normal, organized style of pace of basketball. They were just having a steady offense, steady defense. Look how slow and boring this game was. This was before the three-point line. And mind you, the ABA applied the three-point line. And what made the ABA so creative is not because of all the colorful superstars that they had and the weird little teams that they had and their red, white, and blue unique basketball, but they had the three-point line. What made the three-point line very intriguing to many basketball players is it's new. And according to George Mikan, the reason why he added the three-point line is to give smaller players a chance to dominate his league. And honestly, that's very brilliant from a big man perspective because George Mikan was known to be, or coined to be, the first giant in the NBA. I mean, as a white guy at the height of nearly 7 feet. He was nearly 7 feet. I think he was like 6'10", 6'8", 6'9", but during that time that was humongous. So he wanted smaller players to have a chance to dominate his league. And honestly, that was a really brilliant move. And also, during that time, the NBA didn't have much All Star festivities. They just had the NBA All Star game. Now, the All Star game was cool, it was fine, but it was kind of boring. I watched the game myself, like the 1975 All Star game, and let me tell you that shit was boring. It was just boring. I mean, I knew the players, but damn, that's annoying. And annoying and boring. What the ABA had was something more special than the NBA. A slam dunk contest. And this was coined by Dr. Julius, Mr. Erving himself, okay? I mean, Julius Erving was no one has ever seen before. I mean, this guy dominated on all levels. Just look at all of his accolades as a player. I mean, this guy evolved basketball not only inside the court but outside the court. I mean, this guy was the first one to ever hit a free throw line dunk. And do you know how much influence that dunk was? That's more influential than Michael Jordan. Because Michael said himself he didn't do that free throw line dunk without giving thanks to Dr. J. Because as soon as he hit his famous iconic logo J dunk, MJ said, "I coined this to Dr. J. Erving." And Julius was just a very influential player during this time. He was the first ever superstar that was freakishly athletic. I mean, this guy had so much bag of tricks. I mean, he influenced the style of play in the ABA. What made the NBA hate the ABA is the fact that the ABA plays like a sort of playground style. What I mean is they're rolling around the floor, making these flashy passes, making these amazing acrobatic layups. So as soon as October 21st, 1976, Dr. J brought his package, his dunk package, and his athletic prowess to the NBA. And the NBA placed all the ABA rules. So the merger really merged, but they were just coining back to the NBA. So it's called the NBA, obviously, but they added the 24-second shot clock and the addition of the slam dunk contest because of Dr. J and the three-point line. Yes, it took a while. It took quite a long time for the players to do it, but a lot of shooting superstars like Sam Jones, and a lot of superstars, Jerry West, and a lot of smaller players like Rick Barry wanted to test out this newly acquainted three-point shot. And the skyrocket of just people attending an NBA game became even more and more popular. I mean, Dr. J was at the forefront. I mean, this guy was being the most unpredictable player during that time because you never know what he'd do. You never know that he would do an amazing athletic layup like here. Look at that baseline to baseline layup. His most known move or the most famous move of his, besides his dunk contest feats. But what I really liked about during this time was the NBA was experimenting. They were very open-minded to some things new. And the fact that they never seen a superhuman like Dr. J before really evolved the NBA for what it is. I mean, look at MJ. He just continued the legacy. I mean, the fact that Dr. J's influence changed the NBA forever. I mean, not just how everybody played and how the rules were made. He was just the first built-in superstar who had everything in his basket. A very athletic guy, a very unpredictable set of offensive moves. I mean, this would pave the way to some of the best moments we ever had in basketball history. I mean, without him, we would never seen the dunk contest. We would never seen these amazing dunks. Because in the NBA during the 60s and 70s, they actually outlawed like certain dunks in certain posters to endanger their players, you know? And I find that I have to thank Dr. J. I mean, man, first guy to ever have a shoe deal, first guy to ever like really just enjoy basketball and make us all enjoy it, because the dunk in basketball is what everybody wants to do. It's a dream to fly up in the air and dunk. I mean, that's the most satisfying feeling that you'll ever feel in basketball, besides a great game winner and a championship. But thank you guys for watching. I mean, this will be a little mini series, but don't worry. Under the Radar is not leaving, and season 2 is coming soon. So watch the next couple videos of history of the NBA. And thank you guys, and don't forget to subscribe, boys, and see you next week.